Okay, so let's get right into this. We're going to unpack a story that honestly feels like it's pulled straight from our near future, but it's happening right now. It's a classic battle, right? Human intuition versus machine logic. We're talking 3 decades of gut feelings up against millions of lines of perfect code. But here's the twist. This isn't just about a person versus a program. It's about what happens when these two forces are pushed together, creating something totally new. So, meet our two players. On one side, you've got Mike. He's 50 years old, a truck driver with 30 years of asphalt under his belt, and get this, $40,000 of debt just hanging over his head. And on the other side, Jing Chen. She's 38, a brilliant data science lead with a PhD, and she's designed an AI that's supposed to make drivers like Mike, well, obsolete. I mean, you couldn't find two people from more different worlds, and they're on a collision course. And you have to understand, Jing's creation, on paper, it was a masterpiece. This algorithm was designed to map out the most efficient, the most cost-effective, the most mathematically perfect route for every single truck. The whole idea was to save millions of dollars by taking human error completely out of the equation. But that's the big question, isn't it? Because a perfect plan is one thing. A straight line on a computer screen looks great in a meeting, but messy, chaotic, unpredictable reality, that's a whole different beast. Which brings us right to our first section, when perfect AI fails. This is the part of the story where all that beautiful, clean logic starts to just crack. It starts to fall apart under the pressure of all the real-world stuff it was never built to understand.
So what actually went wrong? Well, it was all these little human things, Things like an icy loading dock in the middle of a Chicago winter that adds an hour to a delivery, or the unwritten social rules about which union rest stops are safe and which ones to avoid. The AI had no clue about the tiny, subtle differences in how way stations operate from one state to the next. It was missing what the drivers all called ground-level intelligence.
And look, these weren't just tiny little hiccups. They were adding up. Big time. We're talking major delays, wasted fuel, and seriously frustrated drivers. The perfect system was failing so badly that the company was about to lose its biggest, most important client. The stakes were getting incredibly high. So that leads us to this massive turning point. The company is desperate, and desperate people, well, they make some pretty desperate calls. And this is where our two worlds are about to come crashing together. Picture this. Jing, totally under the gun, has to hire the company's most vocal critic as a consultant. And who is it? It's Mike. He walks into this meeting with her whole team of data scientists, takes one look at their models, and just lays it out for them. He says, "Your perfect line on a screen, out here, that line loses money, time, and tires." He wasn't just complaining. He was dropping truth bombs from the front lines. And this next moment, this is where everything changes. Mike just grabs a map and a pen. A simple pen, and he starts drawing the routes that actually worked. Not the shortest routes, but the smartest ones. The ones that knew to avoid that one tricky way station or use the rest stop with the really fast turnaround. I mean, his old-school analog knowledge just completely dismantled millions of dollars of code in a matter of minutes. Now, this is where Jing has this huge aha moment. She realizes the AI isn't flawed, it's just incomplete. It was missing wisdom. It was missing a human brain. And that kicked off this incredible process of trying to translate a lifetime of human experience into a language the machine could actually understand. And that's where they really started to define this key idea, ground-level intelligence. And this isn't just knowing facts, It's that gut feeling. It's the social smarts to navigate a tricky situation. It's being able to adapt on the fly when things inevitably go sideways. It's everything Mike had that the algorithm was completely missing. So they developed this amazing process, this partnership. You can really break it down into 3 steps. First, Mike would bring up a real-world problem, like a super difficult way station. Then he'd explain his solution, his human workaround. And finally, Jing and her team would take that experience, that know-how, and translate it into a brand new, flexible rule for the algorithm. They were literally teaching the machine to think like a veteran driver. So what happens when they do this? The results of this collaboration were, well, they were absolutely transformative. This wasn't man versus machine anymore. This was man and machine, creating a new kind of hybrid intelligence that was way smarter than either of them could ever be on their own. Okay, so let's talk hard numbers. How good was it? 30%. A 30% reduction in fuel costs. And we're not talking about one truck or one route. We're talking about the entire company. That is a massive, game-changing result that saved that big client and proved this crazy partnership was the right move. But the impact wasn't just about the company's bottom line. Remember that $40,000 debt that was hanging over Mike? The company paid it off, the whole thing, in full, as a signing bonus for his new role. They weren't just saying they valued his experience anymore, they were showing it. And this is the perfect end to his story. Mike, the driver who the AI was supposed to replace, gets a promotion and a new title, Director of Driver Experience and AI Integration. He didn't become obsolete. He became essential. He became the human heart inside the machine. So this whole story leaves us with a really powerful question. In this age of automation, Mike's 3 decades of real-world experience, his ground-level intelligence, turned out to be his most valuable asset. So it makes you wonder, right? What are the other uniquely human skills, the kinds of expertise that you just can't measure or code, that are actually going to become even more valuable in a world run by AI?